Okay, I just made a 1-minute video on addictions and what they do to us. I'm going to put it right here, and then right now I'm going to break it down for us. If you can understand this one thing about addictions, it'll change your life. I want you to know this. I want everybody to be free of addictions and understand that they come from a lack of understanding how loved you are. You are loved. You're loved, all right? But what happens in childhood is, let's take the example of a father who goes out and is partying with his friends or is working all the time. You know, he doesn't see the value of being present with a 1-year-old, like a toddler, do you know what I mean? And loving and changing their diapers and feeding. And there's no glamour in that, right? And so if he feels more important going and making something of himself in the world and getting a bunch of money or partying, it gives him an immediate sense of worth. And that's what we do when we go to our addictions. We get an immediate high, but we leave, we're not present with the little boy or the little girl in us that just wants the love. That just wants the love. It doesn't need all that money. It doesn't need all of that. All right, now I'm going to break it down for us so that we have the time to understand this concept a lot more, so that it's not just, a 1-minute thing, because I always want to, give you the fullest of understanding, but I understand that not everybody has an hour a week to sit down and do therapy, but that's what therapy, good therapy, is about. Doing the inner work is about, transforming these old truths that we took in as a child. And so imagine what truth you took in as a child before you formed your words or your understanding of the world consciously. Let's take a second to just be present, because that's what I keep teaching, My name is Dr. Cheryl Meyer, and I'm a psychologist for the past 20 plus years. And what I've been getting now, what my title is, I have many titles, it's just like Bilbo in The Hobbit. He says, I'm the barrel rider, I'm the owner of Sting, his sword that killed Goblin Killer, but is like a shepherdess, and I help people go from heartbreak to heart awake, because you're meant to have a heart awake. Your heart's meant to be giant and protected and loved and juicy and full of emptiness, so that the shining love of the sun, which the divine is like the sun. I'm not saying to worship the sun. I'm saying the sun shines through us. You're like a flute. But, and so all of this love can play through you and love so many people. You have the capacity to love so many people in this world. There were so many times in my life that I wanted to give up. And, but I'm still here. And had I not been here and kept persevering, and someone telling me to persevere, or just life telling me to persevere, there's more love to be had. There's more love to be given. I wouldn't be here and you wouldn't have this video, right? So let's go back to the example that I was given, that I saw in my mind's eye this morning, of if a father, right, is going out and he is partying, or is, he was taught by his childhood that he's never enough, like sometimes imagine if your dad was adopted or something, and he felt like he was rejected by his own mother and father, and he had that rejection in him, and he didn't know how to work that out yet. And so he just went out and bought the world's idea of how to fill that up. And so he goes and he works real hard to make a lot of money or make a name for himself, or party with his friends because you feel an immediate high. Like, they don't call it a high for nothing. You feel a high in that moment. And when you're feeling low, you want a high. But you're feeling low because you took in a lie from childhood. You took in a lie that you're not worth more, that you're not worth loving, that you're not worth saving and protecting and cherishing and raising up. You're worth abandoning, giving away. A lot of us feel like that. That's why we relate to Oliver Twist, you know, who was an orphan because his parents died, or his mom died, I can't remember, but, you know, or Annie, little orphan Annie, or Bambi, or something, I don't know, you know, all of these, we relate because there's a part of us that feels like the orphan, you know, like Hansel and Gretel that are left out in the woods to die. And so, of course, I'm looking at a butterfly. Rachel, come over here, look. I hope those got in the shot. It's like a butterfly and then a bird matched each other and then they flew off. Which is saying you have the capacity to change from the caterpillar to the butterfly. You have the capacity. And of course, like when people go and get high and they drink something or whatever, it makes them feel like a butterfly momentarily, you know, like a social butterfly, let's say, or just you feel like you're flying. That's the deception of it, right? But so does love. So does love. Love feels so good. I was crying the other day. I have some friendships that are so dear to my heart that have transformed me, and you know, and sometimes I'll think what the world thinks because I will be mistaken. It's a mistake. And I'll think, oh, but I don't have this kind of love right now. I don't have this. And it's just like, what if I have something more? What if I have something more than that right now? What if this slow burn is actually so much better than the quick highs? I keep seeing other people cycle through relationships. Even if they last a year or 2 years, then they're just gone. You know, they didn't have a foundation that was built on unconditional love, or getting to know someone's character, or, you know, valuing someone that's done the inner work, because they know how to love on a more consistent basis than someone that just looks good next to you or makes you feel important in the moment, but doesn't know how to love because they never learned how to love themselves. And so go back to what happens, right, is, let's say now we can use the example of the father with a son, or the father with a daughter, right? Or a mother with a son or a daughter. But let's just keep using this father example for a little bit. I wish you so much love. I wish you so much love. So I just want everyone to know this love, right? And so if the father is gone, right? The father is out. Look at this perspective for a second. Look up. Whenever you're feeling really bad, just look up. No one can take the sky away from us. I mean, anyway, so when the father is gone, the message he's conveying to you as a child is that you're not worth the effort for me to be present, for actually me to learn what real intimacy is, for me to learn what my real worth is, and thus teach you about your real worth. All I teach you is to keep going out there. Take something out there, some substance, some other accolades, some sense of worth from people telling you it out there, because that father was still looking for it in the parents that he never had. You know, he was raised somehow, but he's still looking for it out there because he's still thinking that he's missing something he already has. You are this. You are love. You were created out of love. We come out of the idea of God, out of the substance of God. You're made out of this substance of God. And so But the message that you got, all right, this is the message you internalize as a child. All of us do this, is you're not worth my presence. There's no such thing as you getting your worth from internal. You have to go external. You have to either prove how good you are. Even people go to churches, and churches can be a place that protect your spiritual path. They build a wall so that this fire can stay warm and that the world can't turn this fire out. Churches could be a beautiful place. They can also be a terrifying, horrible place if they don't know how to align with divine in the correct way. All right, so you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You like understand. And sometimes when we have unhealthy parents, we go and find unhealthy churches. This is a problem. But it's not about going and trying to prove your worth, right? Through being good in a religious way. It's not about going and feeling so worthless all the time that you feel like you have to go to drugs or alcohol or smoking all day long to fill up that emptiness that you have in your heart, because you've habituated yourself. You have a habit now of going to those things that only temporarily fill you. They don't fill you with what you're worth. You're worth the real love. You're worth the real presence of a good father and a good mother, you know? But what happens is when they give us that message, right? We automatically, our subconscious just takes it in that you're only worth someone escaping from you. You're not worth someone staying present and loving you just as you are, even if you're this boring 1-year-old baby that just needs its diaper changed and to be fed every 3 hours. You know what I mean? Like, believe me, I have 2 kids. I lost one in a miscarriage, but I have 2 kids. And it was very, very, very painful for me I loved them with all my heart. I still love them, obviously, but to leave a career where I was on radio and I was getting lots of clients and I was helping lots of people, and I could have made a lot of money back then when my kids were first born, instead of choosing to stay present with them and take them to parks and watch after them and be a loving presence and just watch my room, you know, the living room, just be a giant mess and feel like an idiot and feel like that I couldn't possibly clean. It was like Hercules freaking stables. If you've ever read that story, it was like, you know, he was supposed to clean like 1,000 stables by the end of the day, or he didn't get, you know, help from the gods in the story or something like that. And the divine he helped him to cause a river to go through, and the river cleaned all the stables, but it looked like an impossibility. And so here I was in the middle of a bunch of plastic toys and stuffed toys and, you know, trains and soldiers and whatever else all over the floor, and my husband at the time coming home and me just feeling worthless, right? And like not having an adult conversation for like 3 years because I was just with little kids all the time. And so it's painful. It's painful. This is why we're called to take up our cross and follow Christ, not like a masochist, but because those boys were worth all of that love. They were worth my presence. They were worth me giving up whatever fame I could have had back then, or whatever. You're worth me making this video right now for the 35 people that watch my videos, for the 3 people, the 1 person that watches my videos right now, instead of me going and pursuing a career the way that all these other people are telling me to pursue it. Understand, I do this because I know your worth, because I know my worth. Give yourself presence. Don't keep giving yourself all these quick highs. You're worth more. You just internalized a lie. Just like the father in the story internalized a lie that he wasn't worth loving. He was worth loving. That's why he was still alive. That's why his parents were able to give him up so that he could stay alive, because they didn't think that they could keep him alive. Do you know what I mean? And so he always had the chance to be loved. So just stop taking in the lies. You're always worth 100% of love 100% of the time. And you can have true intimacy inside. And we are born out of love. Let us love one another. Begin by being loving to yourself. Offer yourself something higher. You're worth it. Much love.